Welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and remember to subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon. Firstly, no, this is not clickbait. I'm going to tell you how you can get a free Tesla. I just got one. However, it will depend on what you currently drive and how much gas you use. But even if it won't be free for you, you might be surprised at just how low the true cost might be of owning a Tesla. You might be able to afford one right now. I bought my first Tesla in December last year. My government offered about a US $5,000 subsidy on them, and that took the car to an irresistible price point. I started running some numbers, and they told me that this car was free to upgrade from my previous. It would seem that generally a lot of people tend to think Tesla is an expensive car. And sure, its price tag may be above your average Toyota, but the prices are still right in line with BMW's equivalent. In fact, when you add the standard extras on a Tesla onto a BMW, the BMW becomes a lot more expensive, like for like. Also, the BMW Autopilot isn't quite up to Tesla's. If you're going to comment on how Teslas are expensive, then make sure you also include BMW or Mercedes, Audi, etc. And I'm comparing their ICE cars with Tesla. If we get into their electric equivalent, then Tesla is a bigger bargain again. Tesla is a different product and requires different economics. But most people use conventional ways of judging the cost of a car, mainly looking at the price tag, factoring in something perhaps reasonably fuel efficient. People rarely factor in the total cost of ownership. We're going to cover the full economics of the cost of ownership of a brand new Tesla and see how much extra it actually costs you, if anything. According to AutoTrader, the average length of time drivers keep a new vehicle is around 6 years. We will therefore be taking into account the total cost of ownership over that period, and then we're going to see how much difference it makes to you financially if you were to upgrade to a Tesla. We will now compare the cost of ownership between your existing vehicle and a Tesla. You might be surprised at just how affordable it is to upgrade to a Tesla. Now, I didn't say you could have any Tesla, I just said a Tesla. So we'll be using the entry-level Tesla, a rear-wheel drive Model 3, which now starts at $47,000. Unfortunately, the price just increased, which I think is still about the average selling price of a new vehicle in the US. Did you hear that? Teslas don't start at luxury prices, they start at average prices. Now, if I finance this Model 3 with $0 deposit and pay for it over 6 years, then the cost of the payments comes in at $750 a month for 6 years. Okay, that is a noticeable amount of cash flowing out, but what does it mean when we look at the whole picture? If you're upgrading, then you have an existing car that likely still has some value. Obviously, if the value of your car was currently $47,000 and you traded it for a Tesla, then that would be an upgrade at no cost. If you have a $47,000 vehicle currently, then you know you can afford a Tesla already. But what about people with more affordable vehicles? What about someone who drives a $10,000 vehicle? Would you save money owning a Tesla instead? Well, that's what we're here to find out. Correct. If you are listening and have a car that's worth about $10,000 or more and desperately want a Tesla more than anything, I'm going to go through the full process of how much a new Tesla will really cost you. You may be about to discover that you can afford to go and order a Tesla after this video. Exciting? Then let's move on. Here's the scenario. You sell your car and you use this $10,000 as your deposit on your Tesla. Or equally, you're about to buy a $10,000 used car. Buying a new Tesla with this $10,000 deposit, then your monthly payments just dropped from $720 a month to just $600 a month. Already looking good. So the question is, how much did this other car cost you to run? Now, servicing costs. Well, according to a study by AAA, a new car's routine maintenance and repairs could cost on average of 9 cents per mile. But you had a $10,000 car, probably wasn't very new. Let's say it's 10 years old. According to Consumer Reports, the cost of maintenance for a 10-year-old car is double the cost of a 5-year-old car. Given that, I would like to estimate that the cost of maintenance is 20 cents per mile. Bear in mind, at the end of this period, your 10-year-old car would have become a 16-year-old car. We will include servicing costs under maintenance. Now, admittedly, insurance is likely to be more expensive for a brand new Tesla, but Tesla are offering their own insurance to about 80% of the US market soon, which could possibly be even cheaper than what you're paying now for your $10,000 car. But perhaps it might be fair to add an additional $500 a year to insure your Tesla, as it is more valuable than a $10,000 vehicle. On top of that though, although Tesla doesn't need any fuel, there is still the cost of electricity. This is about 3 cents a mile if charging at home, but free with solar. Alright, now here is what it all comes down to, the fuel cost. Lots of variables here, which is fine, as we can make a table to present all variations. Now, the average MPG for a new car today is 25. 10 years ago it was less, and a 10-year-old car is not as efficient as it once was. I would say there's a good chance that it might be around 15 mpg now, but you likely know every time you fill up your car. And if it's a $10,000 car, there is a chance it may be a smaller, more fuel-efficient car too. Therefore, I'm going to create a table showing the running costs of your vehicles at different MPGs, along with miles driven as the other variable, as not everyone drives the same amount each year. These are the two largest variables in annual running cost. We've calculated a cost discrepancy per mile between a Tesla Model 3 and a typical 10-year-old ICE car. The ICE car costs 17 cents extra every mile before we even factor in the fuel cost. Now we need to calculate the cost of every mile driven a year for each car. We have everything we need. At the time of this video, the average fuel price in the US was $4.70. So we will use this figure, but as gas prices are different everywhere, you can adjust this accordingly. With that, we can calculate the average monthly running cost of your car. I've created a table to illustrate different driving scenarios for different vehicles. As I think this is such an important topic, I have left a link in the description for you to play with the spreadsheet for your own personal situation. In the table, the cells highlighted in green indicate that you are currently paying more to run your $10,000 ICE vehicle than you would be making payments on a Tesla. For anyone driving over about 15,000 miles a year, it's highly likely a Tesla would save you money, or cost only a fraction more than you're paying today. Bear in mind, the average US driver does around 13,500 miles a year, which isn't that far off. Do you understand? This is why I say Teslas are affordable for most people. Of course, you do still need to be eligible for finance. I created another table though that shows how much extra it would cost you to buy a new Tesla over your current car, or how much you would save each month, which I think is an easier illustration. If you trade in a $10,000 vehicle and drive an average of 13,500 miles a year with 20 mpg, it would cost you an extra $186 a month to drive a Tesla. Now I understand it is not easy for a lot of people to find $47,000, but $186 a month? Come on, you can do that easily. I mean, you could even use that Tesla for Ubering a couple of days a month to cover about $40 a week. Except, these additional costs are for a finite period. You see, once the 6-year loan has expired, then there's no more payments. Yet, if you still owned your ICE car, well, you'd still be paying $4,000 extra a year to run it, which ends up being a great return on the Tesla. In fact, let's put you in both scenarios at the end of the period. For an average driver with 20 mpg, a $10,000 deposit and 13,500 miles driven a year, at the end of the 6-year period for the ICE car, well, your 10,000 vehicle, it depreciated. It's now a 16-year-old vehicle with another 70,000 miles on the clock, likely approaching 200,000 miles total, if it's still going. But either way, it's of very little value at this stage. Let's guess $2,000. Ouch. That's $8,000 dropped on depreciation already. When we include maintenance, fuel and insurance, it's an annual cost of over $6,000. When we multiply that over a 6-year period and add back the cost of the car, we have a total cost of ownership of $48,000. Now, when I do the same for the cost of ownership of the Tesla, it comes to $61,500. It will cost you $13,000 more over the next 6 years to sell your old car and buy a brand new Tesla. Okay, we left out tires perhaps, so maybe there was an extra $1,000 there too. So you may also want to make allowances for an additional $1,000 over those 6 years. And okay, superchargers cost more than charging at home, and we haven't factored that in, and people do have different electricity costs, but I think we're splitting hairs when we go so far. I think this well and truly makes my point. Teslas are more affordable than most people's old $10,000 cars. In addition to that, there are plenty of people with $20,000 or $30,000 vehicles too, that would make a Tesla that much more affordable again. The average used car price in the US is $22,000, which incidentally would take your monthly payments down to $420 if you traded in a $22,000 vehicle, meaning you break even on Tesla payments driving the national average. Also, we don't know if fuel prices could go even higher and remain that high, or even if they return to normal, we can't be uncertain of future oil shocks. Equally though, I also didn't factor in any local subsidies your state might also offer, or if you're using solar and thus don't really pay for power. We're also not factoring in all the time you save not having to go to the gas station anymore, or having to take your car in for a service, or losing your car for a week or two for engine repairs. Not to mention you're also now driving in the safest car in the world, which would thus mean that you also have statistically a longer life expectancy, along with potentially no or lower medical bills if ever in an accident. This is still all economics. But wait, there's more. What happens when the 6 years is over? Your payments stop, and suddenly your annual costs drop from over $8,000 to just $1,400. Not only that, what are you left with? In one scenario, you have a clunker worth $2,000, and in the other scenario, a 6-year-old Tesla, a car that is highly possibly worth in excess of the initial price tag, a car that has potential to go out and earn money for you as a robotaxi. But I think we can all agree, at a worst case scenario, your Tesla may only be worth $30,000. Well, if we start with $10,000 in both scenarios, one being a $10,000 ICE car, the other being a $10,000 deposit on a Tesla, well, your total cost on the ICE is $46,000 and the total cost on the Tesla is $31,000. That's right, you lost $15,000 more with your ICE car than your Tesla. And this is the worst case scenario. For all we know, your Tesla could be worth $100,000 if it's in the robotaxi network. So FYI, that $10,000 car, well, they would have had to pay you $15,000 to buy it to break even with 6 years cost of ownership of a brand new Tesla. And this was highly conservative. So a free Tesla? No. Tesla are paying you to take their cars. This is what disruption looks like. Okay, now I understand these are US prices and Teslas cost more outside of America, along with electricity costs, but it's all relative, as gas prices are also much higher outside of America. I'm not saying this formula is for everyone, I am merely illustrating how good value a Tesla is, and what an outstanding job they've done getting running costs down. I don't think people are aware of this, which is why I made this video. The sticker price of the Tesla is a distraction, but please use the spreadsheet I supplied in the description and let me know how much extra a Tesla might cost you. Also, anyone who drives a lot of miles, well, the economies of scale kick in pretty quickly after a certain stage, and electric instantly becomes cheaper. I think this is important for consumers to understand, and Tesla doesn't bother educating them as they don't need any additional demand yet. But for those of you who understand, then you realize further why Tesla is such a brilliant product, as along with its brilliance comes affordability. I've been surprised how few people realize this, hence the purpose of this video. So what are you waiting for? Why are you still listening to me? Go order your Tesla now, before the waiting list suddenly jumps. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.